Have you ever wondered why you keep attracting the same type of woman over and over? Why every relationship starts like a beautiful dream but somehow turns into a psychological nightmare? Why you give everything to someone who ends up draining your soul, yet you still keep going back for more? If you've ever felt like you're losing yourself in love, or if you've seen intelligent men turn into complete fools around certain women, then brace yourself. This discussion will shatter everything you thought you knew about attraction and desire. Carl Jung, the master explorer of the human psyche, discovered something that most men spend their entire lives running from. He found that what we often call love is frequently nothing more than a sophisticated form of self-deception. It's a projection of your own unlived self onto someone else, a person who can never truly carry the weight of your expectations. And here's the darker truth. The women you're most intensely drawn to are often the ones who reflect your deepest psychological wounds. Let's be clear. This isn't about hating women, blaming them, or fostering resentment. This is about waking up to the unconscious forces that have been controlling your romantic life since the first day you felt desire. Until you understand what Jung called the anima, until you recognize how your own inner feminine psyche is being projected onto real women, you will continue to be enslaved by your psychology, all the while calling it love. This message is not for men who prefer comfortable lies. It's not for those who cling to the cliché that love conquers all, or who think the right woman will magically save them. No. This is for men who are tired of being emotional puppets, who are ready to face the brutal truth of what's really happening inside their psyche when they fall in love. Because what Jung discovered will force you to question everything you think you know about women, about yourself, and about the nature of romance. If you're ready to step out of the fantasy and into the fire of real psychological awareness, stay with me. After this, you may never look at a woman the same way again. Jung understood something that modern pop psychology often refuses to acknowledge. Inside every man lives a hidden feminine force called the anima. She's not just a poetic concept or a metaphor. She is a living, breathing psychological reality. Your anima influences every romantic decision you make, every spark of attraction you feel, and every heartbreak that leaves you shattered. Here's the terrifying part. If you don't know she exists, she controls you completely. So, what is the anima? In Jungian terms, the anima is your inner woman, the embodiment of all the qualities our society often teaches men to suppress. She is your emotion, your intuition, your vulnerability, your capacity for connection and nurture. All the soft feeling parts of you that you may have pushed down in order to be a man still live on inside your psyche as her. But just because society tells you to be logical, tough, and unemotional, doesn't mean your inner feminine disappears. Not at all. Instead, she goes underground into your unconscious mind. And from there, she operates like a puppet master, silently pulling the strings of your romantic life from behind the scenes. Think about the last woman who absolutely captivated you, the one who made you feel like you'd known her forever after a single conversation, the one who seemed to understand parts of you that you didn't even understand yourself. Jung would tell you that in that moment, you weren't really meeting her. You were meeting your own anima, projected onto her physical form. You were essentially falling in love with a hidden part of yourself, but you believed it was her you were in love with. Why certain women feel like home. This is why some women give you that uncanny sense of familiarity or instant comfort. It's why one woman's face can stop you in your tracks, while another equally attractive woman leaves you completely unmoved. It isn't purely about objective beauty, personality, or some magical chemistry. It's about how perfectly a woman can match the image of your unconscious feminine, the anima, that's been waiting inside you, desperate to be seen, felt, and acknowledged. When a woman comes along who mirrors that inner image, you experience an overwhelming sense of "this is the one," a feeling of destiny or completeness. But here's where it gets dangerous. Your anima doesn't care about compatibility, red flags, or whether this woman is actually good for you. She only cares about one thing: completion. The anima wants to unite with her counterpart in the outside world, to become whole. She will drive you toward women who embody her qualities, even if those women are toxic, manipulative, or completely wrong for you. Your anima will lure you into chasing women who might ultimately destroy you, and you'll convince yourself that this is passion or true love. Understand, the anima isn't evil, but she is ruthless in her desire to become whole. She's been locked away in your unconscious for years, maybe decades, and when she finally sees herself reflected in a real woman out in the world, she doesn't give a damn about the consequences. She wants union. She wants wholeness. and she will use every trick in the psychological book to get you to pursue that reflection of herself, even if it means blowing up your life in the process. This is why love can sometimes feel like an addiction. It explains why you can't stop thinking about someone who treats you badly. It's why you'd cross oceans for a woman who wouldn't even cross the street for you. In those scenarios, you're not really chasing her. You're chasing the lost parts of yourself that she represents. And until you understand this dynamic, you will remain a slave to your own projections, mistaking your inner craving for wholeness as an external romantic obsession. If this insight is resonating with you so far, take a moment to acknowledge it. This understanding is the first step out of the maze. Now, let me tell you about the man Jung warned us about the most. Not the violent man, not the cruel or domineering man, but the anima-possessed man. This is the man who has become so identified with his unconscious feminine side that he's lost all sense of his own masculine center. In everyday terms, this is the guy who loses himself completely in his relationships. He doesn't just love women. He worships them. He doesn't simply desire a woman. He needs her like a man in the desert needs water. He doesn't choose relationships. He falls into them blindly, like a man stumbling into quicksand. You probably know a man like this. Maybe you are this man, or have been in the past. He's the guy who will change his entire personality to match what he thinks she wants. He's the one who will drop his goals, neglect his friends, abandon his values, all just in hopes of winning her approval or avoiding her disapproval. He's the man who interprets every text message from the woman as if it were a line of sacred scripture, analyzing every word and emoji for hidden meaning. He lives in a constant state of anxiety about whether he's doing enough to keep her interested. His emotional state rises and falls entirely based on her whims. This man genuinely believes that love means suffering. He'll say, relationships take work, but what he really means is that the emotional turbulence he's feeling must mean the love is real and deep. He confuses drama for passion and chaos for chemistry. What he doesn't understand is that he's not actually in love with the woman in front of him. He's in love with his own fantasy of her, his projection of the perfect feminine. And when reality eventually intrudes, when the real woman inevitably fails to live up to the impossible ideal his anima has set, he doesn't realize that the illusion was to blame. Instead, he blames her. He becomes bitter or heartbroken, thinking she changed or led him on, when in fact it was his own mind that set him up for disappointment. The anima-possessed man is dangerous, not because he's outwardly violent or abusive, but because he is completely unconscious of what drives him. He will give away his power, his money, his time, and his dignity, all while convincing himself that he's being a great romantic hero. Generous, devoted, and loving to a fault. He doesn't see that what he calls love is actually a kind of psychological vampirism. He's trying to feed his starving inner feminine by drawing energy from the women he idolizes. It's an attempt to live through someone else's vitality, instead of finding strength in himself. And here's something important. Women sense this immediately. A woman can smell this kind of neediness and projection from a mile away. It doesn't matter how successful, handsome, or intelligent you are on the surface. If you are possessed by your anima, ruled by this unconscious need for feminine energy, most women will instinctively either pity you, use you, or run away from you. What they won't do is truly respect you. How could they, when you don't even have a solid sense of self for them to respect? A woman can't respect a man who doesn't know who he is, apart from his obsession with winning a woman's love. Now, here's a critical point that Jung understood, and most men never will unless they wake up. Your anima is not your enemy. This inner feminine isn't trying to torture you or ruin your life, even if it feels that way during heartbreak. She is, in fact, your greatest teacher. She's not trying to destroy you. She's trying to wake you up. Every woman who has ever broken your heart, every relationship that has imploded in your face, every obsessive infatuation that left you feeling empty and foolish, each one was a message from your anima, showing you something you desperately needed to integrate within yourself. Think back to the woman who rejected you, but whom you adored. What qualities did she have that made her irresistible to you? Was it her confidence, her creativity, her warmth or emotional depth? Here's a mind-blowing thought. Those qualities that you admired so much in her are not things you need to go out and find in another woman. They are qualities you need to develop in yourself. Your anima drew you to that woman precisely because those traits are latent in you. Unclaimed, undeveloped, waiting for integration. Or think of the woman who manipulated you, or the one who betrayed you. Yes, her actions hurt, but ask yourself, What was your anima trying to show you through that pain? Perhaps how you have been manipulating yourself with comforting fantasies, or betraying yourself by ignoring red flags due to lust or loneliness. Jung called this process of facing these parts of ourselves individuation, the journey of becoming whole by integrating all the split-off pieces of your psyche, and that includes the feminine pieces. Sadly, most men never take this journey. Instead, they spend their entire lives chasing their anima in the form of different women. They go from relationship to relationship, always hoping this time it will be different, never realizing that what they're searching for can only be found within themselves. The faces and names of the women change, but the underlying pattern stays the same, and so does the disappointment. Now let's flip the coin for a moment. Men have an anima. Women have what Jung called the animus, an inner masculine personality. When a woman is possessed by her unconscious animus, she becomes just as toxic to a relationship as an anima-possessed man. You might have met this kind of woman. On the surface, she might not seem masculine in a tomboy sense, but psychologically she has rejected her own gentle feminine nature and has become identified with a distorted masculine principle instead. The animus-possessed woman is often critical, controlling, and argumentative. She always needs to be right and have the last word. She wields cold logic like a weapon, slicing through others' feelings and dismissing any viewpoint that doesn't match hers. At the same time, she might wield emotion as a tool of manipulation, using guilt, withdrawal, or drama to keep control in the relationship. In truth, this woman isn't relating to men as people. Her unconscious is relating to something in herself. She projects her inner masculine qualities outward, often seeing the men in her life not as they are, but as either targets to control or weaklings to disdain. Here's the trap that so many men fall into. If you are an anima-possessed man, you will be irresistibly attracted to animus-possessed women. Your deep unconscious femininity will be drawn to her exaggerated unconscious masculinity, like opposite poles of a magnet. You'll probably think the intense pull you feel is chemistry or fate. Jung would say it's actually psychological compensation. Each of your psyches is trying to balance itself out through the other. It's like two puzzle pieces snapping together, but in the worst way possible. Two incomplete people clinging to each other, not to love the other as they are, but to use the other to complete themselves. What does this dynamic look like? It can be hell on earth for both parties. She will criticize you incessantly, and you'll interpret it as her trying to help you or make you a better man. She will attempt to control every aspect of the relationship, and you'll tell yourself that she's just taking charge, or that she has things under control because she cares. She will emotionally manipulate you, perhaps through sudden coldness, or erratic displays of anger and affection, and you will misread that as passion, as evidence that she really feels deeply. You'll tie yourself in knots trying to please her, not realizing that nothing you do will ever be enough for an animus-possessed woman, because she isn't truly seeing you at all. She's relating to you as a projection screen for her own disowned masculine energy. This is one reason modern dating can feel like such a battlefield. It's not simply men versus women as some would have you believe. It's unconscious anima meeting unconscious animus, projection colliding with projection, wound matching with wound. In far too many cases, no one is actually meeting anyone. It's just people dancing with their own psychological shadows, interacting with their own projections given form. Here's a revolutionary insight from Jungian psychology that will completely change how you understand attraction. You are not attracted to a woman's body or personality, as much as you are attracted to your own inner image of the feminine that she happens to embody. In other words, you don't really see her, and then fall for her. Your psyche sees an opportunity to project your anima onto someone, and that is what creates the fireworks. Think about it. You've likely encountered women who were, by all societal standards, very attractive or seemingly great on paper, yet they left you feeling nothing. And you've probably encountered women who might not fit conventional beauty standards, or who had traits that surprise you. But for some reason they stirred something in you that was undeniable and intense. Why? Because it's not about her, the individual. It's about how closely she matches the unconscious archetype of the feminine within you. The closer the match, the stronger and more immediate your attraction. When you meet a woman who perfectly mirrors your anima, the effect is electric and instantaneous. It's the kind of attraction that hits you like a lightning bolt. You feel an almost mystical familiarity, as if you've known her for ages even if you just met. You feel seen and understood in a profound way, as if she somehow gets your soul. You become convinced that finally you've found the missing piece you've been searching for all your life. It's intoxicating, it's exhilarating, and it's completely irrational. Your friends might not understand why you're so head over heels, but to you, it feels like destiny. The trap of idealization. The more perfectly a woman matches your anima ideal, the harder it becomes to see who she really is. You'll be blind to her flaws, her limitations, and her basic human quirks. In your eyes, she isn't just a woman. She's a goddess, an angel, the embodiment of feminine perfection. You elevate her to a pedestal so high that no real person could ever maintain that position, and inevitably, reality will set in. At some point, her humanity will show through the cracks of your projection. She'll do something or say something that doesn't fit the ideal image. Maybe she shows a side of herself you didn't expect, or she fails to meet your fantasies in some way. And when that happens, the crash is devastating. The pedestal crumbles, and you feel betrayed, disillusioned, even angry. This is why the women who affect you the most deeply are often the ones who hurt you the most. It's not necessarily because they're cruel people or wanted to hurt you. It's because they could never live up to the superhuman role that your anima, your own psyche, cast them in. They were human beings all along, but you interacted with them as if they were something beyond human. No relationship can sustain that kind of projection forever. Remember, your anima doesn't care about real-world compatibility. She doesn't care if you and that woman share the same values, if you have similar life goals, or if she treats you with respect. The anima cares only about symbolic completion, finding the image she seeks. She will happily drive you towards a woman who fits her archetype even if that woman is married, or lives across the world, or has a personality that clashes with yours, or is simply not interested in you. From the anima's perspective, none of those practical considerations matter. That's why a man can knowingly pursue a destructive affair, or overlook huge incompatibilities, or ignore red flags that are obvious to everyone around him. Logic and reason are no match for the anima's pull when she's projecting onto someone. If you find yourself resonating with these descriptions, take heart. Becoming aware of this pattern is a huge step forward. Many men go their entire lives without ever seeing it. Jung did not leave us without hope. In fact, he offered a radical solution to this dilemma of projection and disillusionment. The solution is not to swear off women, or to become a cold pickup artist who doesn't feel anything. And it's certainly not to indulge in bitterness or misogyny. Jung's solution was inward. Instead of endlessly chasing your anima in the form of external women, you can turn within and develop a conscious relationship with your inner feminine. In other words, you can integrate your anima into your conscious self. What does this mean in practice? It means acknowledging that emotional, intuitive, vulnerable side of you instead of repressing it. It means giving your inner feminine the attention and validation she has been seeking through your romantic obsessions. You can learn to dialogue with her directly. For example, through self-reflection, journaling, therapy, meditation, or any practice that lets you explore your feelings and imagination. Some Jungians even use active imagination techniques, literally having a kind of conversation with that inner figure to understand what it wants and needs from you. The idea is to meet those needs yourself, rather than unconsciously trying to make a woman in your life fulfill them. And let's clear up a misunderstanding. Integrating your anima is not about becoming more feminine or sacrificing your masculinity. It's about becoming whole. Imagine yourself as a bird with two wings, one masculine, one feminine. If you've been trying to fly with only one wing, only embracing the masculine and denying the feminine within you, of course, you're going to crash or desperately cling to someone else to carry you. Integration means you reclaim that other wing so that you can finally soar on your own. It means reclaiming the parts of yourself that you've been unconsciously projecting onto women. That might mean developing your own emotional depth, learning to feel and handle your emotions instead of expecting a woman to comfort you or give your life meaning. It could mean cultivating your intuition and creativity, trusting your gut feelings, expressing yourself in art or music or whatever appeals to you, rather than only living by rigid logic. It means embracing your own capacity for connection, compassion, and vulnerability, seeing those as strengths, not weaknesses. All of these qualities, once integrated, will make you a more complete human being. When you start to integrate your anima, everything changes. Suddenly you're no longer desperate for female attention, because you're already in touch with the feminine within you. That lonely, needy void inside begins to fill up with your own love and understanding. You stop putting women on pedestals, because you realize that the thing you were worshipping in them was actually a piece of your own soul all along. You stop falling headlong for the most forbidden or unavailable women, because you're no longer subconsciously trying to complete yourself through someone else. The integrated man is not a man who dislikes women or avoids them. On the contrary, he can appreciate women more deeply than ever, but consciously. He's no longer driven by blind need. He can admire a woman's beauty and presence without being enslaved by it. He can enjoy attraction and even intense passion, but he remains rooted in himself. He can love a woman wholeheartedly without losing himself in the process. In fact, a man who has integrated his anima becomes somewhat dangerous to the modern dating game, and I mean that in a good way. He cannot be easily manipulated through his projections anymore. He sees through the little games, the tests, or the emotional roller coasters that unconscious women might use, often unintentionally, to hook unconscious men. For example, if a woman suddenly pulls back, or tries to make him jealous to test his devotion, the integrated man doesn't panic or start chasing frantically. He remains composed, because his sense of self-worth isn't based on her validation. He doesn't need to chase, because he's not running away from his own emptiness anymore. He's centered. Becoming this man, however, requires you to give up something that most men are not willing to let go of. The comforting fantasy that love, in the form of a woman, will save you. You have to sacrifice the romantic notion that if you just find the one, she will heal all your wounds, make your life worth living, and complete you. You have to kick the addiction to high-drama romantic intensity, that rush of infatuation and turmoil that you've been mistaking for true love, and instead learn to value the sometimes quieter, steadier satisfaction of a real, authentic connection. Now let's talk about one of the most uncomfortable truths Jung revealed about this whole dynamic. It might sting, but it's crucial. The women you think you want the most, in your current state, usually don't want you. At least not the anima-possessed version of you. And the women who could truly love you for who you are, you're likely not even noticing them or giving them a chance. This isn't a question of your worth as a man or some superficial rating of you or of women. It's about a fundamental mismatch between projection and reality. When you're operating under the possession of your anima, you are drawn to women who embody your unconscious ideal. Those tend to be the very women who are least likely to reciprocate feelings for a man who is projecting so heavily. Why? Because on some level, they can sense your neediness, your projection, the heavy agenda you're bringing into the interaction. They might not articulate it, but they feel that you're not interacting with them, the real person. Instead, you're interacting with some dream in your head, and feeling like you're being used as someone's fantasy or savior is deeply unattractive to any psychologically healthy woman. Women, just like men, have an intuitive radar for this kind of thing. They can often immediately detect when a man is looking for a mommy, a savior, or a muse to give his life meaning. They can tell when you're not seeing them as an individual human being, but rather as the solution to your inner emptiness. That energy is suffocating. It places a huge unspoken burden on her to be perfect, to live up to your ideal, and many women will just back away when they feel that. Or, if they themselves are unhealthy or manipulative, they might exploit it, but they still won't respect you, and genuine love won't grow there. On the flip side, think about the women who have shown interest or kindness toward you, the ones who might actually be good partners. If you've been anima-possessed, chances are those women didn't spark the crazy fireworks in you. Maybe you thought they were nice but boring, or you dismissed them because the interaction felt too easy or ordinary. In reality, it might be because they did not match the extreme template of your anima, so they didn't trigger that immediate obsessive projection. They were just themselves, and they might have been offering authentic connection. But to you, raised on the drug of projection-fueled passion, it felt underwhelming. Your unconscious was busy scanning for the goddess, the perfect archetype, and a real woman with real humanity doesn't fit that bill, so you overlooked her. It's a cruel irony. The men who most desperately crave love are often the ones least equipped to recognize it or receive it when it's actually present. They're so busy chasing their projections and high-intensity fantasies that they miss the genuine love and compatibility that might be right in front of them. The answer isn't to lower your standards in the way you might think. It's not about convincing yourself to date someone you have zero attraction to. Rather, the answer is to raise your consciousness. When you integrate your anima and start healing your inner world, your entire experience of attraction changes. You begin to see women more clearly, without the thick haze of projection. You may find that you become attracted to different kinds of women, those who are actually good for you and compatible with you on a real level, because you're no longer subconsciously seeking someone to complete you. You've done that work yourself. Your type might even change in the process, Or at least the way you relate to your type will be different. If you've made it listening or reading this far, it means you're different from most men. Most men would have shut this conversation down the moment their romantic illusions were challenged. It's uncomfortable to admit that maybe what we've called love was something else. But you stayed and opened your mind to the possibility that a lot of what you thought about attraction and romance might be upside down. That willingness to question and to seek truth is the mark of someone ready to grow. Now, the work of integration is not a weekend DIY project. It's not as simple as having an epiphany, and then you're cured. This is the labor of years, possibly decades, because you're literally reconfiguring parts of your psyche. It involves developing a relationship with your own inner feminine, learning to feel your feelings fully, and taking back those projections. It means the next time you feel that insane pull towards someone, you pause and say, okay, what part of me am I seeing in her? How can I nurture that part myself instead of automatically chasing this person? It might involve seeking out therapy or Jungian analysis, journaling about your dreams and fantasies, or simply spending more time with yourself cultivating the qualities you admire in others. It also requires a willingness to face some pain. You might have to confront loneliness you've been avoiding, or grief, or shame that you've covered over with the band-aid of relationships. You may have to break some old patterns and even step away from the dating scene for a while to find your center. But the reward for doing this work is nothing short of transformational. Let's talk about the reward. What do you get by integrating your anima? By doing this hard inner work, you get to become a man who can love deeply without losing himself, a man who can feel desire, even intense passion, without becoming desperate or ungrounded. You gain the ability to truly appreciate a woman's beauty and feminine energy without being enslaved by it or turning her into an idol. In short, you become the kind of man who is truly free and truly capable of love. You also become somewhat immune to the manipulations or unhealthy dynamics that might have ensnared you in the past. A man who isn't driven by unconscious need is extremely attractive and also a bit intimidating in the modern dating market. Not intimidating in a bad way, but in the sense that he can't be easily controlled or fooled. Women who are used to wrapping insecure men around their finger find that their usual tactics just don't work on him. He sees through it. He responds to genuine connection, not to tests or mind games. His confidence is quiet but solid. It's rooted in genuine self-knowledge, not bravado. Most importantly, you become capable of recognizing real love when it arrives in your life. Not the roller coaster of projection and infatuation and anxiety that you used to mistake for love, but the quieter, steadier flame of authentic intimacy. Real love is sometimes less flashy than the Hollywood version we carry in our heads. It might grow slowly, it might feel calm and secure rather than dramatic and nerve-wracking. When you've done the work, you won't overlook this kind of love anymore, just because it doesn't give you an instant adrenaline rush. You'll value it. You'll be able to build a relationship where two whole people see each other as they truly are and choose to walk together in life. That kind of love isn't boring. It's profoundly satisfying and life-giving. It's what most people say they want, but few have the patience and maturity to actually experience. Now, this transformation isn't all sunshine. It comes with a price. You may have to let go of or fundamentally change relationships that were built on your old patterns. Some women in your life who were happy to engage with you in a codependent or projection-based dynamic will not be happy when you change. If you stop playing the savior, the victim, or the worshiper, certain people who needed you to be that way might feel betrayed or upset. You might find you need to walk away from women who only want you so long as you remain weak and pliable. You might disappoint someone who expected you to always cater to their ego or their need to dominate. This is part of what Jung meant when he said the path of individuation, becoming your true self, can be a lonely road. It's not that you will be alone forever. Far from it. It means that you may find yourself out of step with the crowd, unable to engage in the same old social games. You can't go back to the unconscious patterns of dating and relating once you see through them. In the short term, that can feel lonely. You might spend periods of time focused on your own growth rather than in relationships. But in the long term, it opens the door to the possibility of relationships far more fulfilling than anything you've known. Ultimately, the choice is yours. You can continue to live as a prisoner of your projections, going in circles through the same highs and lows, the same toxic attractions and heartbreaks, calling your addiction love and your obsession passion. Many men will do exactly that until their last breath. Or, you can summon the courage to do the difficult work of integration. You can face your own inner feminine, your own depths, and do what it takes to become the kind of man who is capable of conscious love. Jung's ultimate message about the anima was one of hope and wholeness. She's not your enemy. The goal isn't to exorcise her or suppress her back into the unconscious. She is a guide, a gateway to parts of your soul that you have not yet lived out. If you acknowledge her and integrate her, she transforms from a temptress or saboteur into a source of creativity, insight, and connection in your life. The feminine within you, once embraced, will inform your strength rather than undermine it. Think back on the women who have impacted you the most, those who broke your heart, or drove you crazy with desire, or left you feeling empty and disappointed. Rather than seeing those experiences as just failures or them doing you wrong, consider that they were messengers from your own soul. They reflected back to you the parts of yourself you needed to claim. Maybe one woman's confidence pointed to your need to build self-confidence. Another woman's emotional turmoil pointed to your own unhealed emotional wounds. Another's inability to love you pointed to your own difficulty in loving yourself. These experiences, as painful as they were lessons provided by your anima, trying to get you to see what's already within you. It's time to stop chasing your soul in female form. Turn around and reclaim it within yourself. Stop projecting your chance at wholeness onto the next woman you meet, and start embodying that wholeness as a man. Stop looking for a woman to save you from your loneliness or inadequacy, and start becoming the person who can save himself and meet a partner as an equal. Paradoxically, once you no longer need a woman to complete you, you'll be able to truly love a woman for who she is, and be loved for who you really are too. This is the dark truth about women that Jung uncovered. No woman out there can complete you, heal you, or save you from yourself. Only you can do that, by facing what's inside. Women can inspire you, they can support you, they can love you, but they can only meet you as deeply as you have met yourself. They will reflect what is within you. If you carry emptiness, you'll find emptiness. If you carry wholeness, you'll meet wholeness. So the critical question isn't, how do I find the right woman? The question is, how do I become the right man? A man who is conscious, integrated, and whole. A man who does not need love but can give and receive love freely. The irony is that once you become that man, finding a meaningful relationship becomes so much easier. When you're no longer blinded by projection, you can see people for who they are and form connections that are real. Before we wrap up, I invite you to take a moment and reflect on your own life. Have you ever realized that you were chasing a projection? Was there a moment when it clicked, that a relationship pattern was repeating, and the common denominator was you? If you're comfortable, share that story. Seriously. Comment below or write it down for yourself. Verbalizing it is a powerful first step to breaking the cycle, to bringing the unconscious into consciousness. And if this deep dive into Jung's ideas and your own psyche has opened your eyes, don't let it stop here. This is just one step on the ladder. There's so much more to explore about the psyche, about how we relate to one another once we wake up. Knowledge is a ladder, and each rung takes you further from the darkness of unconscious living. So, keep climbing. Maybe watch the next video, or pick up a book on Jungian psychology or relationships. Do whatever keeps you moving upward. Your anima, that inner woman, is waiting for you to acknowledge her. Your authentic self is waiting for you to step into wholeness. The work begins now. It's not easy, but it is absolutely worth it. The life and love you save will be your own. Now that is a truth every man should know. Good luck on your journey.